Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to the 6th annual Micro Four Thirds meetup with our photographers and other creators here on YouTube. And this is part 2 because there's just so many new channels and creators out there using the Micro Four Thirds system. I just couldn't get them all into one stream together. And I think that's an awesome thing. And I think it shows sort of the strength and robustness of the Micro Four Thirds system in the community in general. And today I have some really fantastic creators. Some of them are back again from last year, and I have a couple of new creators here with me today, and I'm very excited to introduce them. And I excuse me. Well, most of my viewers, you know my streams, right? They're kind of usually unscripted and off the cuff, but let me go ahead and bring everybody in without further ado, and hopefully everything goes smoothly here. How's everybody doing today?
Very good.
All right.
Good to see you.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
So we,
Good to
you
be
know,
here.
I'm going to start with Jimmy here. Jimmy, I've known you a long time, at least 6 years now, almost as long as we've both been doing the YouTube channel. And I think one of the most things I admire about you is your consistency from day one. You know, when someone goes to your channel, they know exactly what they're going to get. You have a very pragmatic yet kind of fun way of looking at things, and you're very, very thorough in your videos. You kind of do the pros and cons, and really, I have very few questions left after watching one of your videos. You know, and that's one of the things that, like I said, I you know, steady Jimmy, right? You're
Steady Jimmy.
there all the time for us. And I think, again, you're sort of like, I think, the ambassador of Micro Four Thirds in general in that sense, because of your consistency and commitment to the format, but also, you know, your experience in photography as a professional photographer. I'm going to tap into that a little bit later, but
Okay.
Tell us a little bit, you know, for those that may not know you, as if you need an introduction at all, but you know, tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe something people might not know about you, and
Sure.
and in your own words.
Well, I'll try to summarize it in a very short way then. Well, I am a professional photographer, for those who may or may not know. I've been photographing for a good part of 15, 16 years now. I started in film photography. So, you know, I've got all these medium format cameras and also all the 35mm film cameras. I used to do a lot of documentary stuff and travel photography, and that's how I was known actually. And back in the early 2000s, I used to write a lot of blogs when blog was still a big thing. And I think back in the days, I had about 3.5 million subscribers on my blogs. It was really big, and but then for some reason the blog site actually collapsed. So the site collapsed, and I lost all the subscribers, and I lost my blogs. All my written articles completely gone, and that was 2003 or 5. I can't remember now. And so I went through a really quiet period in the social side of it. But you know, that again, that was kind of my side gig, and just like writing stuff and photographing stuff, and share my thoughts about the place and my photos online. YouTube was just starting out, and I didn't have any intention of doing any sort of video thing at all, not until very recently really. And photography was really my main gig at the time. That's where all my income is. So I went from travel photography into portrait, then into wedding a little bit. I did wedding for about 7 years, and now I exited the wedding scenes now. So I still do occasionally if the venue is good enough or exciting enough, I'll still do something. But other than that, I mainly do portraits, bespoke portraits, and portraits for families and individuals, high value individuals that I'm not allowed to talk about. And but I do all kinds of people photography, let's put it that way. Until about 5-6 years ago, then obviously I started YouTube, and video becoming a main thing now. And still kind of not my main thing that I like to put a lot of effort in at the moment, simply because it doesn't, I wouldn't say that it earn me enough money to kind of give my bread and butter, my photography stuff. So that's still something that I maybe one day, and I would consider moving full-time in YouTube. But in the meantime, and I quite like what I'm doing at the moment until I get really bored, and I will skip over to the YouTube side.
Yeah, like all of us, right? No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. So I'm going to come back to you about your wedding photography a little bit later, because I'll never forget what you said a couple years ago about that, and I wanted to bring that up again.
Yep.
I will definitely be coming back to you on that. And then Emilie Lowrey, Micro Four Thirds girl, Micro Four Nerds. I think, like I was telling Brian James in the last stream, when you pick a channel name like that, you're really committing. It's kind of a risk, right? And and I've always said, like someone like Robin Wong, I've always said he's like the happiest guy, in photography. But I could say the same thing about you, but in a little different way. You add a little bit more shine and flair to the happiness, right? So whenever I go to your channel, it's like it's shiny, happy people time, because it's just such a joy to watch, the content that you're creating, and the kind of, I guess, like I said, that shiny flair to the Micro Four Thirds community that, that I certainly lack. I'm like the most boring channel on YouTube ever. But and I've always loved watching your channel, even though I'm not really a Panasonic person. I just sit back and have some popcorn and have a good time. So tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, maybe something they don't know, and in your own words.
That's so kind of you to say. I mean, that's exactly what I want from my channel, to be honest, because I am a camera nerd, and photography has added so much to my life personally and professionally, to the point that I just want to share it and make sure that, everyone's enjoying it as well. It should be a fun thing. I know there's a lot to learn, but it should be fun primarily. Yeah, so I started with wedding photography. I did that full time for many, many years. And then YouTube happened, and I was slowly sort of transitioning from that to this, and now I do more travel, wildlife, street photography, and I just make a living by playing with tiny cameras and being an idiot on the internet.
Yep, exactly. Oh my God, all your little tiny camera videos are so much fun. And I think it really exemplifies why a lot of people got into Micro Four Thirds to begin with. Even if it's not their primary system, they have it as part of their, bag for their everyday stuff, go out and have some fun without feeling, hunkered down by taking a camera out. They're just taking out something to capture their memories and have some fun. So let's go over to our other Emilie here, Emilie Talpin. When you've just recently started with YouTube, I guess a couple of years at most, and so whenever I watch your channel, I'm like, this is how I started, right? It's like trying to get to know our viewers, know our community, and share our passion with the Micro Four Thirds format, but also in photography. And you have this like love for macro photography and wildlife photography. I think naturally makes you a perfect ambassador for the OM systems. And you've done some amazing work with the little eyedropper stuff and close-ups of all these bugs and so I think really contributes sort of that side of the system that a lot of people aren't looking at, and should, because it's a whole different world when you start going into macro photography, right? It's like going to another planet. And that's something I always felt like your channel did the most for me, was to see the world in a different way. Look into macro photography more seriously, even though I've never been a macro person. I'm just content with a couple of extension tubes usually, but I'm looking at that 90mm macro now from Olympus.
Oh, you should. It is exceptional. That will make you a macro photographer for sure.
Yeah. So because they got $300 off on the bundle this year. But anyway, tell us a little bit about yourself. There may be a lot of people here that have never seen you before, because you know how YouTube works, right? They're not gonna show your thumbnail if you're not familiar with them.
No, that's true. And I'm so specific, it's true. So I do a lot of macro photography, bird photography, although I'm started to be more into landscape photography and inspired by what all of you guys are doing on your channel. And you already inspire me to put my thoughts out there, which I think is great. That's what I like about the macro forward communities. I feel like we all friends. And I see that because in the comment, I'm like, you come in, I have a room for you, Robin. If you come in, you can just stay with me in my flat.
I know,
Put other
it's
cameras.
wonderful.
It is. And that's what really I find when I started actually photography not that long ago in 2018. I picked up my first camera, and then 2019 I moved to Olympus at the time, and I just fell in love with the camera. I just needed something that was small, packed with features, and that I would have with me all the time. And that's really, I think, like how you progress. You need your camera with you, even when you go and get the mail or go to your chiropractor, which I'm going less now that I switched to Micro Four Thirds.
Yes.
This is good. So I'm from France. You can tell from my accent, but I actually live in. I know. I know sometimes they say, "Are you Canadian?" I'm like, "Nope, not Canadian. I would like to be Canadian, but I live in New Hampshire. I'm a teacher, but actually I'm taking the plunge this year. I decided that after 20 years of teaching French, it's time for me to try with photography. So I'm joining the Wildside Nature Tours company, and I'm so excited because I'll be, doing more tours, going to festival. We do birding, so that's kind of my big announcement. I'm happy when I have a camera in my hand and I'm meeting other photographers, and I love teaching, but I think at my age it's time to give photography a really good try.
Absolutely. That is awesome.
Way to go.
And that's what's wonderful when you can take what you love and do that for a living, right? And
Yes.
spend your life doing that. Focus on that. And that's something I try to do. But yeah, I'm very envious. You actually got a real job doing it.
I know. I'm very, very lucky. I know that.
Yeah. Okay, so Thomas is new this year to the community, the annual meetup, and I tell you, you're another person I think relatively new. I'm not sure how long you've been on YouTube, but it seems like you just kind of come out of nowhere and started creating this amazing content. And whenever I watch your videos, what I really love about them is I learn so much, and I also get a little bit of a history lesson, right? It's you can look at the Micro Four Thirds system, but you have to a lot of times put it in the context of the entire industry and how they're all related and how they're different. And when you give that little bit of history and context of why, camera companies do certain things a certain way, and specifically when you were talking about Micro Four Thirds and the Olympus cameras, how much thought they put into specific features. I was like, that makes so much sense, why they did that now. Because a lot of times, people look at a specific thing and they're like, this is nice. But then when you understand why they did it, or you notice things or you talk about things that I never thought about before, like you were talking about something on the EVF on the OM5 about the distance and the size. And I was like, wow, interesting. And that makes so much sense. So that's what I think. And it's awesome that you're contributing to the community as an educator, showing people how to use their cameras and solve problems, right? It takes a little load off me, to be honest. Because I was like, oh, Thomas did a great video on that. You can go check it out over there. But since you're new to the meetup here, why don't you tell us about yourself and maybe something we don't know about you that we wouldn't see on your channel?
Well, thank you very much for this amazing introduction, Rob. It's an honor to be here, to be honest. I'm going to give you my tagline. So my name is Thomas Eisl. I'm a professional photographer from Vienna, Austria. And that's basically what I do for a living. It's mostly reportage and fashion work. So, and quite interestingly, we both have a more or less historical connection you might not be aware of, because I actually started out in visual arts. So I focused on photography all the time. So it was always photography. But back then I kind of refused taking up a digital camera for my work. I was always analog and darkroom, I kind of, so my father was also into photography, and he had a darkroom. So I had all these childhood memories, and I kind of connected with that in my work. And in any case, then there was like an opportunity to shoot a wedding, right? And so I got an OMD EM5 Mark I back then, and I kind of had to figure out how the flash and everything works, and that's actually where I went to your channel. Because, well, it didn't work as I expected it to work in the first place, but I watched your excellent video on flash photography with the OM system, Olympus back then, right? And yeah, so actually you landed me my wedding job back then. And I think the comment has to be somewhere in there. So yeah, that's quite a. And actually, I refused YouTube for quite a while. So I also did the blogging thing, but well, then I just decided to do that and share certain things, and yeah, that's well, and here I am in this meetup, and I'm very happy about that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you here, and I'm very excited to see what more you're going to do in the future. And I think, like I said, if you really, for my viewers and the people here today, you really want sort of that correlation of the history of the camera a little bit together with why they do things the way they do. Thomas is so good at explaining that, and like I said, I've learned a lot about cameras, and it's one of the things that sort of reinforced my feeling that Olympus really puts so much thought into their cameras, how the grip feels, the user interface, the implementation of the features. There's always room for improvement, but when I pick up my other cameras from other manufacturers, I can definitely feel a difference. There's this, I don't have that same connection as a photographer with my other cameras as I do with my and OM systems. So thank you so much for creating that kind of content for us. It's been very enlightening for me.
Thank you.
So Marlene, how are you?
Great.
It's Marlene Hielema, right? Image
You got
Maven?
it. Yeah, Image
Awesome,
Maven.
awesome. Yeah. Marlene is brand new, of course, like Thomas, to our annual meetup, but also brand new to me. It was actually Emilie L, Micro Four Nerds, that introduced me to your channel just recently, and I was like, wow, you have such an amazing content for our Panasonic Micro Four Third users, more specifically the G9. And I don't know, you're the way you teach is very methodical and very clear and concise. And I know that from reading the comments and from your viewers, that they really appreciate how you teach and they connect with you really well. And you're very responsive. You reply to, I think, just about every single comment I looked at.
Silly me.
And so your engagement with your viewers and your community is probably the best I've ever seen. And I don't know why I haven't really come across your channel. I mean, I've probably seen a thumbnail here and there, and I'm like, oh, Panasonic, okay,
Next.
and a G9. And not that there's anything wrong with Panasonic. I'm starting to really appreciate their lenses. Actually, I picked up their 25mm Leica, and I'm just falling in love with that lens. It's amazing. So now I'm like, they got a 200 2.8, they got a 15 1.8 or 1.7, and I'm like, this glass is amazing. And I have shot Panasonic. I've had a GX85 and I've had an S1R, both of which I sold to get my 300 f4 for Olympus. But that's my first impression. And I think if anyone is a Panasonic user, specifically if you're looking at the G9 Mark II, I would highly recommend going to Marlene's channel and start looking at her content and learning how to use that camera. And then go to Emilie's channel to have some fun.
Yes. I go to Emilie's channel to have fun.
Yeah, yeah, and you're almost like that. When I was watching, I was like, it's like I'm sitting there right next to you, and you're showing me how to use a camera. And that's what I really liked about watching it. It just felt more personal. You have a much more personal connection with your audience and the viewers. So anyway, that was my impression. Why don't you tell us about yourself and maybe something your viewers may not know about you?
Well, I'm in Calgary, Alberta, so home of the camera store. So I have a connection with that retailer. I actually did work in corporate and industrial photography for many years in the oil and gas sector mostly. And I did like public relations photos, people portraits in the offices, but I also went to like refineries and things like that. Very beautiful industrial settings, which, if I could go back now, I'd shoot them differently, but you have to make them look lovely and pretty for the client. So, but lots of design elements in industrial sites that I really enjoyed. I am actually a photo educator. I taught at post-secondary level at art college and technical school for over 10 years. So that's why my passion is still teaching, and I can't seem to let it go. I actually started YouTube videos because some of the classes I taught, the students were quite far apart in their knowledge. Like I did teach them beginner. And so I made videos so they could look up the stuff we learned in class afterwards and to review the content. And I actually started making videos seriously with Canon full frame 5D Mark II. And I was so frustrated because it didn't focus. And then I decided, I met some Micro Four Thirds users and they're like, yeah, you should get a Lumix. There's a flippy screen. You don't have to, I used to put my tripod in the middle of the frame and put a doll on it and focus on the doll and then take it out and I'd step in. The focus was so bad.
Yeah,
so
we've all been there.
Yeah. So anyway, I got my Lumix GH3 with its beautiful flip screen, and everybody always complains about Lumix focus, but trust me, for me in that time, it was just fine. It was so much better. So that's how I kind of slid into YouTube. And then I kind of got sick of the old teaching thing and the administration. Love the students, did not like being in a big institution. So I got out of there. And but the thing you don't know about me, or at least if you don't follow me, is I'm a skateboarder. And for the last 8 years, I've been running a nonprofit skateboard club for women and girls. And I actually just retired from that a couple of months ago because I'm getting tired of the little kids. No, I'm not, but you know what I mean. I want my Wednesday nights back. And but yeah, I'm still a skateboarder at age 61. I even occasionally go into a contest. I'm good for my age. I'm good for my age. Yes. I don't do flippy tricks because I like my ankles. And I just ride in bowls where it's safe and one person goes at a time. And so, yeah. And I'm right now, of course, because I have access to the skateboarding community, not just the women's community, but the whole community, because it's friendlier than this group, believe it or not. Wow. I have access to really good skate locations and people. And so I use them a lot to test out stuff. So I say, yeah, I got a new lens. Can you do some stuff for me? Or, I always take a little camera with me to the skate park. And it used to be the Lumix GM1, then the GM5. And now I have a couple of G100s that I always have in my skate bag, just because, they're there. And I usually take now these days the 9mm lens with that and a small camera. So nice. Yeah. And also because I'm getting older, I'm a crazy bird lady now, and I love bird photography, and it's kind of like a treasure hunt. Like when you're, as you know, Emilie, when you're out in nature, wandering around, it's like it's a treasure hunt, but you don't know what it is. Like you don't know what you're going to find, but you always have to be ready. And I just find it so relaxing. I just love birding. I don't like driving country roads and birding. A lot of people I know, especially my former students, we kind of have a bird club. They drive around for hours on the weekend. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go somewhere and walk for hours, because at least if I don't see any birds, I still have a walk. So because I don't like sitting in a car and driving around, I'd rather be out there, walking around.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, I think that's it in a nutshell. And yes, I have the G9 Lumix G9, but the G9 Mark II is a loaner right now. I have to give it back in 3 weeks. Oh no! So, but I probably will be getting it permanently. I just have a loaner from Panasonic Canada right now. So
okay, yeah.
And, I also have an OM1. Don't tell anybody because I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait for the Lumix people to catch up. So I bought an OM1 about 8 months ago. So, but I still feel a bit like it's foreign. Like, so I know I need, like when I get the G9 Mark II back, I thought, okay, I'm going to learn this OM1 because I had to learn the Mark II really quickly. So I should be able to learn the OM1. Anyway.
You have to come over. We'll go birding and we'll have some fun with the OM1.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah, and I think that was a lot there. I didn't know a lot about you there. Just like I said, I just discovered you through Micro Four Nerds, and the other thing I wanted to mention was, now that you've told me you were a teacher, an educator for so long, that it makes sense more now why you're so good at showing how to use a camera. And I felt there was a certain pedagogy, if that's the right word, your channel, where you have playlists and things are kind of in a certain order and very specific. Whereas I'm doing a monkey dance and just whatever someone asks me, I try to answer, and then I move on.
Well, my fear is what to do when I have to give this gear back, because nobody's going to watch any video that I make on anything old. Although Emilie, you do that. You do old stuff. People love that stuff. But I mean, you've got that market cornered. I don't want to infringe on that. But and plus, I'm not that. Yeah, well, I don't know. I can't do it like Emilie, and so they're like, "Oh, puff, we'll watch hers instead."
Okay, well. That was a great introduction, everyone. Thanks so much. I always learn something new every year from those of you that have come back, and it's great to learn more about both you and Thomas and my brain, Marlene. My viewers know I'm slipping into, I don't know what it is, but partially why I haven't been creating as much content lately. I just wake up and I can't remember what I was doing for the day. But anyhow, I have a little agenda today or outline that I wanted to kind of go over. And before when I set up this stream originally, this is for our viewers, there was really no announcement or rumor about the OM1 Mark II coming out and the new lenses and things. So I didn't prep anything for this specific thing, but some of you, I know Jimmy and Thomas and Emilie, you've done great reviews on the Olympus and Panasonic releases, the G9 Mark II and the new lenses from OM1. So if you guys want to learn more about those cameras, I recommend you check out their channels because they've done a whole, stream of videos about that. I'm not prepared to talk about it here in the stream, but if you have specific questions about those cameras or lenses, I'll have a little Q&A at the end that you can ask those if you need to. But what I want to talk about really is and this is my feeling, is the Micro Four Thirds community is growing still, despite all of the negativity. Because I go into the forums and God knows what that's like, right? But when I look at YouTube and when I go out to the camera clubs, there's a lot of Micro Four Thirds users, and they love their system. And maybe it's not their only system, but they love the Micro Four Thirds format. And I'll start with you, Jimmy. What do you think is the reason for that? What sets Micro Four Thirds apart? That people will either make it their primary system and/or always have it with them as maybe a secondary or system. And that being said, what improvements would you like to see as well?
Sure. Well, you kind of said it, and basically, as now we are entering a mature stage of digital photography, and because it's happening for about two and a half well, 20 years or so now, I think. So everyone is now familiarized with digital mirrorless photography, and whether it's DSLR or it's mirrorless. And we now also understand about formats like medium, full frame, APS-C, and micro four thirds or whatnot. And now because now people's knowledge is advanced and definitely more experienced in taking photographs, and they have tried multiple systems over the course of last 20 years or that. And so now they realized the strength and weaknesses of each system. So they can't say that one system can do it all. And if someone, let's say, okay, I'm going to a 3 weeks hike into the mountains and into remote places. Would you like to carry like I don't know, 8 kilo worth of photographic gear? You know, have a couple of full frame bodies, have a bunch of 1.2 lenses, a couple of 300 primes. You know, you just can't carry that sort of stuff unless you have a porter with you, have a team with you. They're supporting you, like National Geographic. You know, if you so happen to be lucky enough to be a National Geographic photographer, then you have a bunch of porters helping you carrying all these cases. But if you're by yourself, you're going into these sort of expeditions and going for these treks and hikes, you soon realize that, okay, I may need a lighter system. It doesn't take away that what you already have, but they might want to add a secondary system to complement what they already do. Then again, if you look at it from a professional perspective, and I guess everyone here would agree that there's no one camera or one system is perfect. We use different gear for different things, and I mean, if I say that OM system is the greatest stuff in the world, I'll be lying to you. I use it because my preference, my job, certainly demands it or whatever. And I use it for my own reasons. And but I only say things that matters to me, that may matter to you if you follow kind of same kind of genre of photography or stuff that I do. I can't say on behalf of you saying that this will replace everything that you have already. You can't. And there are physical limits on what micro four thirds can achieve. Similarly on APS-C and full frame. So I think this is my main priority reasons why the micro four thirds community is actually growing, is because now we're not talking about switches. We're not talking about switches from like other brands to the format. We are talking about people adding micro four thirds to what they already have. And they see that actually, and micro four thirds, another strength about micro four thirds is accessibility, and by means of financially, because they are cheaper, and not just brand new gear. If you look at secondhand, I mean, you can pick up if you just want a light camera just to shoot around, going on a family trip. Instead of spending like $1,000 on a brand new camera, you can go for this for used micro four thirds camera, like I don't know, EM10. You can pick one up for like £200. Similarly, my Emilie knows my micro four nerds, and the MPB has done a few of those videos. You can pick up some cheap cameras, like interchangeable lens cameras, for really low money. You don't need to pay for this expensive stuff, right? So I guess once people try those little cameras and try this little format, and they start realizing, okay, I can actually do pretty good with this. I don't need bigger stuff. And it's more about recognitions, and people finally got a chance to try it because they want something light and small. And once they tried it and they said, okay, that's not too bad. That's not as bad as I thought. People all raving about larger format cameras and image quality advancement, whatnot. But once they actually tried it, they looked at the photos, the process at home, that's not as bad as I thought, and it's okay. It's perfectly fine. If you don't push it to the ultimate limit of what the camera offers, and I think that's majority. I can speak on behalf of 95% of photographers out there. How many of us can actually push the camera to that limit? It's only the pros would do that. And when I say pro, not every pro is either. Like depending on what type of professional photography you're in. Speed, maybe, if you're a journalist, if you are if you talk about ruggedness, you can talk to war journalists. And if you talk about like wildlife, for instance, and you can talk about racing photographers, all this stuff, they need speed and they need this and that. So very, very, these are the people who will push the camera to the limit. But for the rest of us, even myself, I'm a professional, but I don't push the camera to that sort of limit because it's not my type of photography. So in that case, I could pick up any camera and do the same jobs as what I'm doing right now. And I prefer using Micro Four Thirds is because I like it light. I mean, if I go out and shoot for about 6 hours a day on the street, and I don't want something that's heavier. People might think, it's only about 10 grams here, 5 grams there. Yeah, you may say that, but we always say in hiking, if you talk about any hikers, professional hikers, 10 grams is a lot for them. It all adds up, right, in a backpack. So you wanted to limit that. You want the total weight, total system weight, which I always talk about Micro Four Thirds. It's the total system weight, not just about the body or the lens. It's everything that adds together. So in my bag, I only have about usually 3 lenses in a body, and that is very light for me. So yeah, I guess that's probably the main reason is people finally get a chance to try the camera and try the format, and then now they're realizing, okay, that's really nice. That's why the community is growing. So which I like to see. And on the other hand, I think your last question is what I would like to see about Micro Four Thirds is probably more unity between the two brands. Namely,
yes.
I mean, technologically, I mean, I can't fault them, either of them. And now I'm fortunate enough to try out both of the flagships, between the two brands, and the Panasonic and the OM system. And they are great cameras. These cameras are amazing. To be honest, I mean, I could use them and to do everything that I need. I don't need other cameras. And it's just that I think intercompatibility, if I can say that word, and between the two brands, such as synchronization of the image stabilization between the lens and the cameras, aperture ring, for instance, one of the biggest gripe about a lot of the Lumix users and also Olympus users who want to use each other's lenses and bodies, and they're not compatible. The zoom ring is turning the wrong way, or different way, between system. So a lot of these little things, and that kind of like, why can't we have a more consistent a thing to do? It's a bit like the L-mount community between the Panasonic now with Leicas and Sigma. They have a certain way of doing things, like the zoom rings already turned the right way, and they all can communicate with each other's aperture rings, for instance. So like, this is something we would like to see in the Micro Four Thirds community, and just like we enable us to use more the system in general, not just about each other's brands, and
Right.
but of course, because I'm an ambassador, just use more Olympus or Olympus system stuff.
Yeah, of course. And, you kind of, there's one thing I wanted to kind of expand on, and that is, I started with a full frame Nikon, myself, and I bought an EM10 Mark II exactly for travel and hiking. And I knew nothing about Micro Four Thirds.
Yep.
And once I saw the quality, like you said, I was like, there's very minimal compromise here, but a huge difference in size. I was going from like a D750 with a 25-liter backpack to just, a little messenger bag with my EM10.
Absolutely. I mean, I told you that earlier that I used to be a travel blogger, who take a lot of photos. So I took my camera and my kit with me to do a lot of traveling when I was a lot younger then. I can give you a very simple example that about 15 years ago, I went to China, and I did all the mountains and climb all the mountains and stuff. I had my backpack on. And back then, I was still using my Canon full frame, and it was the 5D Mark II, and with a whole bunch of pro lenses in my backpack. The whole thing was about, I think, I carry a tripod as well with me. So the backpack was about like 15 kilograms. So I was carrying 15 kilos of gear with me, climbing the mountain. I was fit then, but like, if I asked me to do it right now, I probably would die, like just at the foot of the mountain. I can't even climb up. And the thing is, the reason I first looked at the Micro Four Thirds was because of the size. And just don't tell OM system. And the very first Micro Four Thirds camera that caught my notice was the G1, with the Panasonic G1. And I think that was the first Micro Four Thirds camera that came out. I think the G1 was, and so it was on the shelf. I just looked how small that was, and the lens and everything. I was like, oh, that would be perfect for all my travel stuff, just so small. I don't need big stuff. And but I didn't buy the camera at the time, and because I was so familiar with my Canon and I had invested in the system. So that kind of gave up that thought for a while, and until the EM5, that was the first Micro Four Thirds camera I got, and then that was the the turning point when I first tried the EM5. I was like, wow, you got IBIS. Oh my god, I haven't seen anything like this before.
Yeah.
And it just shocked me in a way that I blow me out of the water. It's just completely insane. And I just never looked back afterward. And I slowly buying more Micro Four, even though I was still a Canon guy, but I was still buying more Micro Four Thirds lenses and bodies. And then eventually, just the Micro Four Thirds took over, and I started to use that more and more in the professional capacity. And my Canon was just kind of sitting on a shelf and start gathering dust. And in 2016, I just sold them all, and then just stay with Micro Four Thirds.
Yeah, you're like my brother from another mother. That's exactly my story. I just picked up an EM10, and then I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you specifically when it comes to things we'd like to see in the future or improvements. I remember you mentioned in one of your videos about some agencies are requiring higher megapixel counts. And I was wondering, how pervasive is that, do you think, in the industry now? Or is that sort of a, just this one agency wanted it that you use?
It just one specific agents. And so I know there were a few people that did ask me when I did my review on the latest camera, the OM1 Mark II. And they say, oh, in the video I talked about using for my pro jobs. And I said yes, because only one agency is asking me for more than 20, and the rest is still 18 is the limit. So I don't actually need more than 20, to be quite honest. So for that particular agency, then I have to shoot 24, which I have now my Lumix and also actually Nikon full frame, so they're all 24 megapixels, so I can actually use either systems. Even my old Leica system is still 24 as well. So like, I have higher megapixel count cameras if I really need to satisfy the technical requirements for those agents. But for the rest are, it's fine. I mean, Micro Four Thirds, any Olympus system is okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's not something I worry about because I'm not big time like you. So
No, not big time.
It does come up. I see questions like that I can't answer.
Yeah.
So I thought while you were here, I would ask you. So
but I guess, if you ask me one thing that maybe I would like to see OM system bring in a high resolution camera, at some point, and that would mean that I can stick with just one system. Not that I don't like Panasonic and stuff like that. I mean, I actually use Panasonic stuff for my filming, for my video projects, so that's totally separate. But for a lot of my photography, I still prefer to shoot photography with my own system cameras. It's just my preference. I mean, I do use Lumix as well for other things. It just how it holds in my hand. I got a small hand, so it just somehow fit me better. And it's nothing right or wrong about that. But before I move on, everybody who's listening right now, can you give Rob a like for this stream? I think he deserved this. And just give him all the likes, buy him a coffee and anything like that. Just help him support this channel and promote more Micro Four Thirds stuff. Right?
Well, I try to give back as much as I can because I just love photography, and I just happen to prefer Micro Four Thirds as my primary system. And let me move on to Micro Four nerds here, Emilie L. That I think that's one of the things that you exemplify on your channel is the small compact lenses and camera bodies, and you're always sharing your favorite ones, and you're having fun with them, painting them all different colors. So that's clearly one of the advantages that you see in Micro Four Thirds. But let's hear it in your own words. What advantages does Micro Four Thirds have been for you, and what would you like to see in the future?
Yeah, I think the phone camera market absolutely decimated the compact cameras and the smaller Micro Four Thirds cameras, and I think there's been a big shift back to using tactile dials, smaller interchangeable lenses, and going out and being more present. And sometimes if you're out and about with your phone instead of a dedicated camera, you don't get that same experience. You get more distractions. So I do think the popularity is increasing because people want cheaper, smaller, everyday carry cameras that they can take out with them and have fun. And like everyone said, as soon as you realize the quality you can get, in even semi-decent light with a smaller sensor, there is very few payoffs. There's very few sort of disadvantages from having a Micro Four Thirds camera. And that's what it's always been about for me, just seeing how much I can push the system. Because it's all about your photography, your composition, how you sort of choose the lighting, more so than any camera. You could have the best camera in the world in a beginner's hands and they would take a worse photo than someone who's more experienced with a £100 camera. And I never had a lot of money when I got into cameras. I was shooting on like smaller bridge cameras and things like that. So I want to show people that you don't have to listen to every single sponsored video on the internet and buy a £3,000 full frame camera to get into photography and have fun.
Yes. Very, very good message. Very good. Get into photography. Just pick up something on MPB or wherever. Maybe a hand-me-down from a relative, and go out and shoot and enjoy the craft. Have that tactile experience like you talk about. There's definitely a comeback, because I think there's been a few attempts to make cell phones more tactile with these, convoluted, attachments and things, but there's nothing like an actual real camera. And hopefully, the new generation of people coming will appreciate that part of it. And I think that's why even film photography has had mild, resurgence. In the digicam phase, I don't know if these are just phases or, if it's going to pass, but for now, hopefully more people experience photography the way you share it with everyone, and just to go out and have some fun and really appreciate what cameras are. They're for capturing your memories and capturing all the fun and joy in your life. So, I guess if you could do something with Micro Four Thirds, or what you would like to see in the future, where do you see Micro Four Thirds going, and what would you like to see come?
So I think there's a bit of a divide in the system at the moment. We have very niche, high-end products for wildlife sports, etc., that you see in the flagships. But I really hope they give the original side of Micro Four Thirds more love, which is more up-to-date, compact camera bodies, like a Pen F Mark II.
Yay.
Or a GM1 Mark II or a G100 Mark II. I think they would sell surprisingly well, and particularly if you had phase detect, autofocus, and all the things that we need in a modern camera. And I think they would give other brands a run for the money. I really do. So that's what I hope to see going forwards. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Some more sort of up to date, because the younger generation, if it's not like the latest and greatest, they just, without even looking at it, they're like, no, what's new? What's new? And I think just reintroducing lenses, saying this just came out, even though it might be optically the same, might be enough. I don't know. I'm stretching. I don't know much about marketing, so I'm not going to go there. But definitely, I agree. Having newer, more compact systems come out would be a very refreshing for us, because not everybody wants to go out and buy a $2,000, $3,000 camera, and they're not going to look at a used market because they want new. Sometimes. So, okay, thanks so much, and let me move on here to Emilie T. God, I'm so sorry.
You're good and terrible with names, so no offense.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's Emily, but because there's two Emilys, my brain is like spaghetti now.
Just call everybody Emily, and that's gonna be okay.
We're multiplying. There'll be more of us next year.
And I think, Emily, you really are taking advantage of the macro capabilities of the Micro Four Thirds, and I'm also very jealous for your birding, because you also take advantage of the 150 to 400.
Yes, spectacular
amazing lens. And so talk about what advantages you see for Micro Four Thirds in those two specific areas, I guess, which is what they're focusing on, it seems like, anyway. But
Yes.
you kind of fell into it that way on your own.
Yes, I did. So for me, I feel like I saw some comments about, well, some people feeling left out. So why is OM system focusing on, nature, wildlife, birding, landscape? So for me, it's like, that's what I shoot. I feel like I'm very in tune with the message of the brand. I'm an OM system ambassador, so I see zero problem. But I also understand people who feel a little bit left out. But at the same time, there are things like I have camera bags that are not camera bags, but I'm fine because it's still a great bag that I'm gonna use, and I'm fine with the brand not, you know, tailoring their product for photographers. I know it's a great bag. I'm going to get that bag and use it, right? So if you know it's a great camera, don't worry about what the brand is saying. Just use it. Use it to your advantage. And I think people should focus on themselves and what is good for them. And that's how they're going to progress. And so for me, just to go back to your question, is I'm so happy with what OM System has been doing with their camera in terms of bird detection, subject detection. Like the new OM1 Mark II has like double the buffer size now, improve the AF. So for me, those are great tools that I'm going to be using in the field. And also the stabilization has been improved. Now it's 8.5. So those are tools that are going to help me as a photographer in the field. I like to think very simple when I'm in the field. So one camera body, one lens. If I do macro, I'm going to have my diffuser and my flash. And if I'm doing water drop refraction, I have a tripod because I need to be completely stable. But what this camera can do, I can focus stack and held. I mean, what other brand can do this? And I think I've seen a lot of people who are not familiar with Micro Four Thirds and with OM system coming to the table where I am if we're doing some shows, and I show them this is what the camera can do. You can do it handheld without nothing else. Just walk down the street, you have your setup, that's it, that's all you need. And that just makes my life so easy and so fun, because photography should be fun. I don't want to have limitation, and I feel like that's what this camera is giving me. Is no limitation, so I can be creative when I'm in the field and having fun. So I'm extremely happy.
I think you've really touched on what I think one of the greatest strengths of the Micro Four Thirds system, because Panasonic does this well also, is the implementation of these features is very seamless in the camera, whether you're doing focus stacking or high-res shot mode. These particular features are just seamless in the camera.
Yes.
And you can do so many things with one camera. Because I have all the other systems, and trust me, it's no fun if you need to do focus stacking, high-res shot mode. It's like the brain, it just, maybe I'm just getting old, but it stresses my brain if I have to use, so I don't use it for that, at all. And that's where Micro Four Thirds is great, because you can expand your photography in the areas that would otherwise you might not even attempt because of this overhead involved in other systems to do the same things.
Yes.
And you can do it all in camera on the Micro Four Thirds, whether it's the Panasonic or the Olympus. So that's great. So
that's how I feel too, because it's funny. So I mostly do bird and macro, so wildlife and macro. But when I got the OM5, I thought, the OM5 is not for me. But just having that teeny camera that I can just put in my pocket, and I started doing more landscape. And now with the live gradient neutral density filter, I was playing with it yesterday. I'm already hooked after just one session. This is really amazing what they are putting in the camera. It's like having a magic box What do you need? They probably have it. It is. I don't know what the limitations are. It's truly amazing what we're seeing in terms of AI and computational feature coming out of those cameras.
I would love to have a live grad ND, because like you said, there's features in the cameras that personally I would use like maybe every other month. I'll be like, oh, I want to use this live ND feature now, or I want to use the high-res shot mode. High-res shot mode I've been using almost every week now, but these are things that I would never do with any of my other camera systems because of the workflow, the overhead and the workflows just makes it like not fun anymore.
Yes, and you have to add gear, well, now if I want to shoot the landscape,
yes.
I need those type of filter, and it's just things that adds and that add weight, as Jimmy was saying, that you have to carry. And I feel with this, it's like my brain is way relaxed when I go out. I know I have all the tools in my camera, and the camera is here to help me create, right? It should not be something that's going to create a problem for me as a photographer. It should help me with my art. And that's what I find with, it's like going out with a box of like paint, and I have all the different paints that I want, and I don't have to go home to get more paint because all of a sudden I need this color, and just makes my life brighter in a way.
Right. And I think, knowing all the things we have now, it's almost hard to think about what they can do in the future, but what do you have any ideas, that maybe you can suggest or would like to see?
I don't know, because they're already doing so much. I mean, can they just put Lightroom in our camera and we'll just tell them, hey, can this camera, which I feel like they already are doing with the filters. So there is so much. I can't wait to see what they're producing yet, but in the future. But already, like, they're improving in the new model, the live ND. So we have one more stop. So it feels like they're already developing the computational features that they are putting in our camera. So that's nice. It's not gimmicky, because a lot of people are like, yeah, that's a gimmick. No, that's not gimmicky. That is something that you are going to use a lot. So I don't know. I don't even dare to ask anything because, I'm already so happy with what I have.
I'm with you on that. I mean, there's the low-hanging fruit, more megapixels, more dynamic range, more all this. But in reality, like I said, those compromises are always going to exist. A rising tide raises all ships, right? So if they improve the sensor on any format, it's going to improve on all the other formats.
Yes.
So there's never going to be this like equivalence, right? But like I said, I think the compromises are minimal. So but I get it. I don't know where they can improve. Personally, my brain is, outside of the low-hanging fruit, I don't know what else they could do, but hopefully they'll surprise us, like they did with this live grad ND is amazing. That was surprising.
More lenses. More lenses.
And more lenses, yes.
More lenses.
More lenses, like Emily was saying. Emilie L. Okay, Thomas. So yeah, I'm very curious to see what sort of you think the strengths are. I mean, I know you probably agree with everything that's said, but I'm sure you have a very different perspective or a more historical way of looking at it. What the advantages from Micro Four Thirds are. I don't want to put pressure on you to come up with some like amazing answer. After watching your videos, I kind of expect like a level of a certain level, or I don't know how to articulate it, but in your words, what do you think the strengths of Micro Four Thirds, and maybe even dwell on what you think they can improve on a little more?
Well, now expectations are high, right? No, but really, it is what you all said, in my opinion, as well. It is the size, and I think we should indeed add a historical perspective, because when 4/3 was developed back then by this 4/3 consortium consisting of all sorts of amazing engineers back then, they kind of said, okay, what size does a sensor have to really serve the needs of a professional photographer. We must not forget that initially 4-thirds was developed as a digital system for the professional photographer. So the amateur wasn't really the target audience back then. And we saw that with the Olympus E1, right? So, and when we think about that, it was 20 years ago and it was 6 megapixels back then. And with that, they said, well, that's the camera. You can do everything with that. You might need a flash at some point because of the ISO performance, but that's it. And here is the fun thing, because we talked about it. It was said before that the resolution of so certain agencies demand a certain resolution, and certain clients are like, oh, how many megapixels does your camera have? Well, the actual question would be, in my opinion, how many line pairs per picture height do you need? Because that's the actual metric that matters. So how much detail are you resolving across the image that you're gonna print?
Right.
But no one has an answer for that, because everyone's like 50 megapixels. But 50 megapixels is absolutely useless if you put a lens on there which does not resolve a certain number of cycles per pixel. So you don't really get the resolution there. And if we think about that, with 6 megapixels, if we resolve that, if we fully resolve that, which is of course not possible in real world. So if you have a 6 megapixel sensor and you add the best lens, there will always be some trade-offs also regarding the set aperture and so on and so forth. But in any case, if we would have fully 6 megapixels on the screen of resolved detail, that would actually be enough even today. So from a technical perspective, and that is quite amazing. And now here is, at least to me, I also love using older cameras from time to time, just because of that, just to kind of, get peace of mind that, well, actually, it worked 10 years ago, it worked 20 years ago, and now I'm looking at a 20 megapixel camera with amazing technology. I'm looking at outstanding telecentric lens design, all sorts of corrections, and so on and so forth. It is just incredible, the quality that you get. So really, what should be improved? I'd say camera-wise, as you all said, well, we are probably there, and I don't really see anything that I would need to get my job done. So if camera development stops now, I'm stuck with the OM1 Mark II, which I really like. Well, then that's okay.
Okay.
So for camera wise, right? But the other thing is lens wise, and I'd say there is always room for these ultra high resolving lenses, like Leica Apo lenses, right? But for micro four thirds probably.
Yes.
Because that is really something where you can get additional quality, where you can get where you really offer a product that is on the market with the pro lenses and certain offerings from Panasonic and so on and so forth. But there is really, well, I would appreciate that. And I would very much appreciate 28 millimeter equivalent prime lens, a fast prime lens, a 1.4 or 1.2, because I love 28 millimeters. So,
absolutely.
So that is that. But other than that, I mean, I'm super happy, and I can do everything. I can really do everything I need with those cameras.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, that's interesting. You brought out bringing out the very high-end type lenses, because when you look at Leica, a lot of their M-mount glass is resolving, at a certain line pair.
Yes.
That Nyquist line, right? That
yes.
Which is basically, at what point does it matter? And if personally, professionally, I actually deliver 2 megapixel images to my clients. That's all they need, right? Because they're just publishing online.
Yeah.
I don't have clients that need to print or do advertising, things like that. But anyhow, one perspective I wanted to get from you maybe is, and where you think Micro Four Thirds can improve is, when Micro Four Thirds kind of first came out, or Four Thirds for that matter, but more Micro Four Thirds, the mirrorless side, the only other cameras that were out at the time were DSLRs, right? Full mirrored, mirror slap and all of that. They were much bigger and heavier. And in the last 3 or 4 years, everyone's come out with mirrorless, Canon, Nikon, etc. Fuji's been in the game for a while, but a lot of people are saying that competitive advantage in size and weight is narrowed. And I think in the middle, right, when you look at normal focal lengths like 50 millimeter, 40 millimeter, 28, that's certainly true. You can kind of get very similar system, maybe even at a lower price point in other formats that are the same size. But I still see on the wider end and on the long end, Micro Four Thirds has a significant advantage. And I was wondering if you could speak to that a little bit, if you agree with that, or if that's something that they need to improve.
Well, yeah, well, that is a very, very, very interesting topic, and I thought about that a lot as well, as it really comes up a lot, and I discovered that, of course, as well with my gear. But really, the thing is, and this is like a definitive fact, there is no such thing as free lunch. It is just if you have a 35 millimeter sensor camera with a 50 millimeter, and you've got the Micro Four Thirds camera, and both are exactly the same size, then there has to be an optical compromise in the full frame lens, because it is just you cannot. I mean, it's just a matter of fact. If you have the same optical calculations, if you have the same quality of glass and everything, if you have a telecentric lens design on both, so there has to be a compromise in the other one. You might not notice the compromise at first glance, because when you have all these corrections applied afterwards in the imaging pipeline, well, then it might look like there is no compromise in the full frame lens, but there has to be on a strictly optical level. And there is a fun experiment. So for everyone who has a 4/3 system still with E-mount lenses, mount these lenses on your old E-mount DSLR and look for the viewfinder. You're gonna notice that there is usually, for most of those, not a lot of distortion going on, because of course you as a photographer, you had to see what you were capturing right there. There is no electronic correction between you and the subject. But if you look at some raw files coming out of mirrorless cameras in an editor, which does not apply all these lens corrections, you're gonna be surprised how these lenses actually look. Which is, by the way, also the case why sometimes it's harder to get accurate focus on the edge of the frame, because it's just so distorted in the camera.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal, but it is the case. So really, there is no such thing as free lunch. So it might look like you are getting a smaller camera with exactly the same quality. You are not, because if you would have a full frame lens manufactured to the same standard as the Micro Four Thirds lens, it would be bigger. That is just a fact. And that is also why certain pro lenses are bigger, because they have to be. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to deliver that. So yeah, that's so that's maybe the perspective. But I agree, for the user, does it matter? Very difficult to say, because we don't need this level of image quality anyway. So you can live probably with a full frame lens, which isn't as good. But yeah,
but there's a lot of us. We're gearheads, and we want the best, whether it matters or not in real life. Right?
Yeah, true.
But yeah, that optical corrections, there's an inverse relationship between the quality of the lens and its size and weight.
Yeah.
And if you have two lenses on different formats of the same focal length or equivalent, there is going to be a compromise somewhere. That makes sense. With current lens technology, there's certainly advances in the future that I've seen that are pretty amazing, where you can have a pancake lens with a zoom of 5 to 1,000. But that's like a prototype, which is amazing. But anyhow, thanks so much for your perspective on that, and I'm sure you'll make a video about that one day. I encourage everyone to subscribe there and talk about that, because that's a very, very valid point. Because when you look at lenses without the computer corrections that the cameras do, we'll see a lot of defects in the lenses, more compromises across the board. But okay, Marlene, My goodness, it's like I think, you know, you said you were coming from Canon, and you've kind of talked about how they like the smaller form factor of Micro Four Thirds, and you've been a Micro Four Thirds user ever since. And you know, we've kind of talked about a lot of the advantages already at this point. Is there anything you'd like to add, because with your experience of being in Micro Four Thirds now for a while, and anything you'd like to see come, because you're kind of in that transition, right? You're ending the legacy of the G9, and now you're looking at the G9 II, or maybe even staying with the OM1. I don't know, but give us your perspective.
Well, you're right. Everything's been said, and I agree with just about what everybody said. And there's not much to add, but I definitely am on the train of like smaller. And I mean, the Lumix bodies, the G9 and G9 II, they're bigger than what I carry around with me every day. I'm going to be honest, you know, unless I have a specific reason to take the G9 to the skate park, I won't. I'll take the G100 or something, you know, like I don't want them to get bigger. And
Right.
you know, I'd like a full featured small camera, like with more things. I love a flippy screen, and I want a mic jack. Those are my must-haves. And but for me, the advantage still of Micro Four Thirds is the range of lenses that I have that I can afford. I mean, I have a really wide section and a really long section. I don't have a lot of middle. In fact, I have the 12 to 35, which I never use. I have the 12 to 60, which I never use. And it's kind of, but I use the 15, I use the 9, and I use the 100 to 400. I mean, the other, last weekend I shot volleyball, and I have a 35 to 100 2.8. And I took that because I thought, oh, it's my fastest lens that I have in that kind of range. But 9 was too wide, 15 was too wide because I couldn't get that close. So it's like 35 to 100 is it, you know? And I'm like, oh, I haven't used this lens in like 8 years. Like, seriously, I just don't use that lens. So, but I know that, but my favorite lens is the 15 1.7. I just love that lens. I use it for all my, my videos that I take for YouTube. It's on the camera when I'm doing street photography. It's still a bit chunky. I mean, I'd like a pancake lens. Maybe I'm even eyeballing the 20 millimeter just because it's so small. I don't need, if I'm doing street, I don't need an f1.7 lens. I could do a 2.5 or a f4 for that matter. Like I don't shoot street photography for, you know, a shallow depth of field. So, but yeah, I don't think I can add too much more to what people have said because I'm, you know, I appreciate.
A lot there. I mean, you know, it seems like there is a shortage of pancake lenses in the Micro Four Thirds system. I mean, they have some, but some of them are crap. Some of them are awesome, but there's not enough. You know, the 14 2.5 has been on my short list, but when you have the 15 1.7, which is 10 times better in my opinion, I can't justify getting the 14 2.5, you know? So what if they made a 14 2.5 that was amazing?
Sharp.
Maybe it can't be done. But, you know, and it is amazing lens for a lot of people. They really love that lens. But, you know, for me, I'm like almost like a full stop difference. That's a big deal from 2.5 to 1.7. But I digress. But I think you did make a point there, if not directly, that I think pancake lenses would be a great addition. You know, if they can improve the quality. They don't have to be pancake like the 14, but something a little smaller than the 15, right?
Yeah, the 15 is too long. Like it's hard to stick in your pocket. Even the 9 millimeter, like with the lens hood on, it's too chunky still. Like even to hide under your coat. Yeah, exactly. Even to hide under your coat, it's just a little too big. I like smaller, shorter lenses. Small stature.
Yes, I agree. I would definitely have a lot of pancake lenses now if they existed, but okay, that's awesome. So,
well, I have lots of those little lenses and that exact camera too. So
yes. I want to sort of segue into, you know, because, you know, Marlene, your channel, the way you teach is, you know, is like I said, I feel like I'm sitting next to you and you're showing me how to use the camera. And I would, you know, and you've had students in the past. What do you think is like the biggest mistake you see a lot of beginning photographers make, and what advice would you give them?
Okay, I have notes about this.
Okay.
I think, well, their biggest mistake, I think, is not studying business. If you want to be a commercial photographer who's making a living at it, you really need to study business and accounting and all that kind of stuff, which sounds really horrible, but it's really important if you want to sustain a photography career. And I think that was one of my downfalls, is that I underestimated that part of running a business, because I did shoot for many years. And, you know, it's not just about your skill. A lot of uncreative people make tons of money in photography because they're good at business.
Yep.
A lot of very creative people, they're really good artists. They're really good technically and everything, but they lack those skills. So I think, I mean, it's kind of a dry topic, but yeah, don't underestimate what you need to do to run a business. And the second part of that question is I would advise them to mentor with a commercial photographer, to mentor with someone who is successful, whether you have to take courses from that person or whether you become an assistant for that person. I mean, when I was in photo school, everybody was an assistant to somebody. Like you did your 6 months working for a photographer who was either in fashion or a journalist or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, to mentor. And I believe that as photographers, we also should mentor younger photographers or people who are learning, who want to be in the business. We need to mentor them. And I've mentored a couple of people, unofficially or officially, but mostly unofficially. I have very good friends, and we almost mentor each other sometime. But I think we need to bring each other up, because so much is pushing down the value of photography.
Yeah.
I think that when you're at a certain level, it's good to have a rep who helps you negotiate your pricing. That's a big issue. When digital came in and prices plummeted, everything's, oh, I can do it. My secretary can do it. How many times have I taught a corporate workshop where I'm teaching the engineers and the secretaries how to take photos? Because guess what? Those engineers, they're out in the field when the sun is beautiful and the light is right, and they're there to send me to the oil field or to the refinery. I've got to stay there overnight. I got to be in a hotel. I've got to, they're there already. They're there with me, taking me around. I'm thinking, you guys could probably take these pictures. I don't want to lose my job here, but you know what I'm saying? So we have to be careful that we keep the value of our artwork, our photography at a high enough level that we can sustain ourselves and our lives. We don't want to have 3 jobs just to be a photographer, to supplement our life, or to own a house or to whatever, because the prices are so low. And people, I think we need to value photography and somehow bring it up, not just chip the prices down. That's a heavy duty topic there, but
I like that, Marlene. I like that.
Yeah, that's definitely a big topic, because that goes into finding your own style and uniqueness, and a reason people would want to pay higher for you. And I know photographers that bring value to their work by, they do the shoot for the client as they would normally do it, and using all the gear that they have, and then they take their iPhone out and take the same picture. And the client looks at it and is like, "You did that with an iPhone?" And compared it to the work that he did. But he said, "Yeah, it's not about the gear, about all the prep and staging and everything else that I did, the lighting." So Because a lot of clients, they think, oh, I'll just get my iPhone and take a picture of this and use that. And he's like, yeah, go ahead, try it. Let's see what I can do with all the experience and skill set that I have with, setting up and staging and all of this, that, yeah, I don't have to have all this gear. I could do it with an iPhone, but I use this gear because it's, I can do even better. But anyhow,
I have a
ahead.
quick suggestion that if anyone who wants to get into commercial photography is go follow, it's called A Photo Editor, and he's on Instagram. And he talks, he gets photographers to send in what they make, how much they make. It's all anonymous, but you learn a lot about pricing, and most high-end, really high-end photographers who are on advertising shoots and things like that, they work with producers who arrange everything. And so you need to look at those really high-end situations to find out if you're starting in photography and you want to do this for money. I mean, there's a huge range of industries you can get into, but start at the top and see, okay, is that me? Can I work with 10 people on set? Can I work with a designer? Can I work with a food stylist? Can I work with a fashion designer, makeup, hair? Like, can you work, or do you want to be that journalist who's running around alone? Or do you want to be a nature photographer who's running around in the woods chasing cougars? Like you have to find sort of like there's so much you can do.
Yes.
And some of us, and I honestly, I do it now just for the joy of it. I don't want that stress, because it's a very stressful job if you think about it. If you really want to be high end, you've got to do your research. Sorry, long answer.
No, it's okay. But it's perfect to what I wanted to ask Jimmy about, because you are actively professional photographer. Yep. What advice would you give to someone thinking about being a professional photographer? I guess being in the UK, I imagine the US market's similar, but or worldwide for that matter. But what advice would you give if someone's aspiring to become a professional photographer? What advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, I'd like to echo a few things that Marlene already said, and because it's a very, very valid point, especially for those who may not have experience in any kind of pay jobs before, or pay photography. First of all, photography, when you go on to start making money in photography, you literally starting to start a business. So it's a business you have to think about. Not just about, it's no longer a hobby. And so like gear is only a tool, it's no longer an obsession and like chasing for the greatest and the latest. It's no longer like that. You have to start thinking about, budgeting everything, how many jobs you're intending to do. It's not about a hobby. The problem I see these days is a lot of newcomers and new photographers. They just want to dabble into professional photography, commercial photography, so to speak. I just want to make enough money to buy my next body. I just want to earn enough money to buy my next lens. They are like what Marlene's saying. They're devaluating the actual services that professional commercial photographers are providing to their clients, because we look at them as jobs that sustain our lives, basically, like our business. We have to think about how many of these jobs we take per year to, make a living out of it. And also depending on the job that's required, the preparation work that we have to do, the durations that we have to do, not only just by shooting for the day, but also processing, the marketing, everything that we have to do. We are a business. There's a lot more than just shooting, clicking the shutter button. So what they don't see is these aspects, behind the scenes stuff. And people, I remember a lot of a student of mine when I ran some workshops. They all asked me about the same thing. He said, like, are you charging too much for your weddings? And I said, like, well, not really. And if you think about, wedding isn't just about standing in for a day. You have to start thinking about all the prep works you have to do, your experience and skill levels that have accumulated over the years. You have to be also being an entertainer for the guests for the entire 24 hours. That's something you don't see. You know, you have to be leader also in the field on the day, communicating with several different professionals on the day, with wedding planner, you know, the makeup artist. You know, they also take your lead as well, because you have to tell them what to do next. You know, what I'm going to do with the couple. So there are a lot of elements that they don't see. They thought that, oh, we're just basically going out and have a camera, a couple of cameras, 2 lenses, and just snap for about 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, whatever. But they don't see the rest of it. When they're starting to take a wedding job, and then they soon realize how much more work they have to do, because people are starting to question them. You know, all the professional, the venue manager, the event manager, the wedding planner will start asking the photographer, "Oh, what are you going to do next? Are you going to do this and that next time?" They need to know a lot of information. So if you don't have that knowledge or skills or plan in place, and you'll be struggle to actually continue for the rest of the afternoon or evening. So being a commercial photographer it sounded easy, and because they say, oh, I have the skill. You know, I practiced for 5 years now. I can take great photos. I can execute a photo. That's totally fine. I'm not judging people whether they can or cannot take a photo, or great photo for that matter, but more about you know, other aspects of it, in not only running businesses, but also the actual experience that you accumulate over the years. It's a nerve-wracking job for any kind of professional jobs that you take, whether it's wedding, whether it's fashion. If you turn up as a fashion photographer, you know, it's a fast-paced day. You know, in fashion, even the Thomas can tell you all about the fashion stuff. And I collaborated with a lot of brands before, and it's crazy. You know, the speed that they're running is you literally have no time to react. You have to go in there, turn up. You already know what to do with the model, and straight away, you know, and they have to change, I don't know, 25, 30 outfits, you know, in a matter of 2 hours. And you have to do like clicking. You can't miss a shot. So these are sort of stress that you have to starting to appreciate and understand before you think that, oh, I can be the next whoever fashion photographer, I can be the next great wedding photographer, I can be the next this and that. And you can ask, you know, Emily and all the others about wildlife. I'm pretty sure the same thing. Become a professional. These are the things that you don't see. You know, you see, all people all see that all the time is the result. All they see there's a great photo here, great photo there. It's like, oh, I can do that. I can definitely do this. It's really easy to say that, but when you're actually going to do that, like Marlene was saying, trying to get up at, like, you know, 3 a.m., get to the site, wait for the location, wait for the light. And if the light is not great, you wait for another day. So it's all this waiting, all this preparations, all this stuff you have to go through. And this is your time. And this is actually what time is money. So this is the professional value that we're talking about now. And people don't see any of that. All they ever see is that a couple of nice photos, you know, floating on the internet. Is that, wow, you take amazing photos. I can do the same. It's no problem. But, you know, when you start getting to pay, you've got a client behind your back pushing you. I need the result. I need the result tomorrow. You know, can you deliver? That's the thing that they don't see. So my advice to any new photographer is that hopefully understand everything that I just said. If not, I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of online tutorials, a lot of people out there can, you know, definitely say a lot better than I am. But this is my own experience, and I can tell you that I start from scratch. I'm self-taught photographer. I did follow a couple of masters before, and but it's not as easy as people might think. But I'm not trying to discourage any newcomer. Definitely, it's a fun thing. If you enjoy photography, it's even better if you can make a living out of it, because that's what you love, right? But the thing is, not only photography, when you want to turn into commercial photography, you need to do more than just that. And you need to starting to have that business acumen. You need to starting to have that ability to deal with situations and changes. Like I mentioned in a couple of my videos before, as an amateur photographer, if you enjoy photography, you go out and wait for the perfect lighting, perfect location, perfect timing to go and take that photograph. But as a professional, if a client gives you a timeline, what are you going to do, right? Let's say a client gives you 2 days to do this fashion shoot out in the wild, and the day is going to be crap. Like, forecast is going to be horrible, rubbish. What are you going to do? You have to think about other things. Plan A, plan B, plan C. Let's change the vibe a little bit. You have to do immediate, like a plan change. You have to do a lot of this thinking behind it. This is not just about photography anymore. You know, this is about other relationship management. And then you have to talk to the client. Okay, look, whether it's rubbish, we've only got 2 days to the deadline. Let's change this. Let's do something about it. Can we talk to the model? Can we talk to the makeup artist? Talk to the supplier for the fashion? Can we change a little bit now? And maybe we can do something. If you don't mind getting wet, you know, let's go for it. Let's go and have some wild shots. And you have to manage that sort of communication as well. So yeah, it's still about creativity. It's still about creativity. Still, you can do some fun stuff, but you have to be able to do that as well. You have to react and change and adapt to all these changes in the professional environment. And in photography, I can tell you that unless you're a studio photographer, if you're anything outdoor, you can never predict anything.
Yeah, and that I think this reemphasizes what Marlene suggested. If you can get a mentor, I think that's a huge advantage to getting started. And thinking about getting ready, you know, there's no easy way to make money, right? It just doesn't exist, whatever genre. And photography is no different. And one of the things that's stuck to my mind ever since I first had you on these annual meetups was I had asked you one year, how do you handle, like at weddings, the bridezillas, you know? And your answer at the time was, you know, you have to be the boss. You know, and I think it takes a certain amount of experience and planning to get to that level. Yeah. And, you know, personality, which, you know, I just don't have it for. So like I said, also pick a genre that's important, that you can deal with certain conditions. Like I would be much better dealing with weather and outdoor type situations because I just have a feel for that. But a wedding, dealing with people, I couldn't do it. So
yeah, well, Brazil is another thing, and I don't usually like to use that term, and but all I can say is that to be quite frank, this is something I always talk to my students and assistants, is that to deal with Brazilers, they are not Brazilian. They are just someone who wants to their photos to be captured perfectly, so they are perfectionists in that sense. So I just say that, I mean, they just want perfect photos, so they like to control things. All you need to do is that you show more control than she is on the day, and that's all you need to do. As long as she sees that you have the confidence and the control, to manage the whole thing. Like I mentioned, you know, you have to be everything on the day, you know, as a wedding photographer. So that you need to show that control and leadership. So she will start to follow your lead because you are showing control. And then and you got to do that. So you got to be confident. If something rubbish happens on a day, something, you know, wedding cake fell on the floor, whatever, you know, something like that, you know, you have to deal with that as well. Because you have to comfort the bride and the couple, you know, oh something happened. You have to rescue the situation in somehow, you know, you have to make them happy, because otherwise, you know, you are there to capture beautiful photos. If they're not happy, they show in the photos too. So you got to have to deal with that. So in that sense, I guess I don't mind working with people who like control, and I don't mind people who wants perfect pictures, which is fine by me because I like to capture nice photos too, right? It's just that you have to show that that you are more in control than them.
Good. That's good to know. I kind of took it as you take complete control, but you just really have to show control where it's needed, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I wanted to ask Thomas, because someone in the comments also wanted to know, you don't really talk about your professional photography on your channel at all. But that's fine, you know, you don't need to, but you know, most of us that if we looked into you at all, you know, we know you do professional work in modeling and stuff, fashion. What, you know, if you can add to what Jimmy was saying, you know, what do you think a beginning photographer's mistake would be if there's, you know, if they're aspiring to be a professional photographer? What can you add to that?
Well, actually, I completely agree. And by the way, full disclosure, it's a bit hard to show my regular work on YouTube. It's not safe for work to a huge degree. So that is the one thing. But really, so for me, it is maybe 20% photography at the end of the day, and 80% is planning, getting people together, figuring out who's actually in charge, who's actually doing things. And the fun thing is, so this is really, I think these were fantastic remarks, because it really, it is just like it is. I completely agree. Maybe one thing, so let's put it this way. If the makeup artist messes up, maybe the director of photography or anyone who's fulfilling that role on the set, or the head of production, right, might spot that. Say, well, let's change this. And if someone's not coming, maybe there is another model and so on. But at the end of the day, you are delivering the product as the photographer. So if the photos don't work out, if this stuff is not where the client needs it to be, it's your fault and your fault alone, even though it might not be that way. So this is really stressful. And I can tell you in all honesty, it's every time, let's take a wedding, right? Every time the famous first kiss between the bride and the groom, first I'm very emotional because I really feel the situations, and that's what I love about photography. But second, I'm always nervous. Because stuff can go wrong. Even with the best camera, it goes wrong. And sometimes you will find yourself turning off all automation. You're gonna stop using subject detection stuff, whatever, because it might fail this time, right? And then you're just so it is very stressful. And at the end of the day, it's always your fault. And it's right to a degree. So you really have to, Jimmy, as you said, you are a manager, and I've always got this huge production booklet that I mail out, where everything is in there to the minute, where you have to be on set, what's the backup plan, where do you park your car, right? What is my phone number? What is the phone number of everyone else? Because really it is, so that is 80%. And also the shot, as you said, at least in my work, the shot is pretty much created beforehand. All the creative stuff happens before. When I'm there, I know the lens is on the camera. I've set everything up, and I'm just doing the thing. And so this is very, very different. This is very, very different to what you do normally when you take a photo for a more relaxed personal project, which might be of even higher technical standard as the commercial job, right? I don't want to mess that up, but or to mix that up. But yeah, that's the thing. It's very, very different, and but it's cool. I like it.
Yeah, that's an interesting way. I never thought of it that way, where the creativity happens before you go on the job. And when I think about my own work, I'm like, that's kind of true. I kind of already know the shots I'm going to take. I mean, there's always variables, but I kind of know what I'm going to do. I mean, but what I do is very simple. I just have to get my lines straight because I do architectural. But then, there's always more to it than that. But that's a very interesting way to look at it. I never thought about that. And that's something I wanted to ask you, Miss Micro Four Nerds, Miss Emilie L. Is, I think most people are familiar with your story of getting into professional photography. You were kind of like the girl with the camera, and you kind of eased into it. And because you're such an amazing person, it's so much fun to be around, and the work that you're producing is amazing. And that's what I want to ask you is, how do you capture that essence or story in your photography or subject through your photography? Because when I see your photos, it's, I see everything. It's much more than just what's in the picture. There's a story there. There's some essence or feeling. And I wanted to kind of ask you how you do that, because I think that's why you were so successful in your professional work and now doing things creatively and sharing that knowledge with us here on YouTube. If you could tell us, maybe specifically that.
That's so kind of you to say, because that's something that I value in other people's photography and try to do myself. I think story, whether it's a big story or a small story, and the human connection that we have in photography is super important. Little plug, I've just started a monthly photo contest, the Micro Four Nerds photo contest. And part of that is the top 10 images get like a video critique. And it's been so lovely seeing the stories that people have been capturing in their own work. And yeah, when it comes to portraiture and weddings, I think it's personality first. And I made sure to market myself as that kind of wedding photographer. You're not going to get the classic beauty shots with me. You're going to get the couple laughing their heads off and having a great time. And yes, it may not always be perfectly flattering, but if that's something that the couple isn't, if that's what they want, I'm not the right photographer for them. I'm all about personality first, and I want them to look at the photos and go, this is authentic to me and our story. And I think a lot of that comes in the prep, talking to people in consults and getting to know more personal aspects of themselves. And then on the day, just following the laughter is what I always say. Even in street and travel photography, if you hear something going on and hear people having a good time, you're probably going to get a more engaging photo.
Awesome. So use your ears as well as your eyes, right?
Yeah.
Follow the laughter.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because when I'm out shooting, I'm always looking for the light. But if there's something going on and I hear it, I should go over there. What's going on over there? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That's an amazing tip. I never even thought about that.
Can I add something to Emily? I think Emily made a really good point about personality, and that's another good thing about beginner photographer is that you got to be you got to be yourself as well as a photographer. People need to relate to you, and we can't. Like we all have our niche, we all have our target clients, we all have our people who like our type of photography. So you can't say photography is for everyone. A style is for everyone. There is no style for everyone. There are clients who search for specific look, specific theme. Even photographer is really true. because the couple or the client need to connect with the photographer or the creative. Whether videos or photography. And you need to gel together to work together on the day. It's not one-sided. We said as much as we are the manager, we're the controller for the day, but still you have to work with the client. The client needs to trust you, need to believe in your visions and things like that. So Emily really made a really good point there. I think that's as a beginner, you need to understand that as well. So you can't force yourself to be someone else and to behave like someone else because your client wants a different type of photography. You can't do that. If that doesn't work, it's better to walk away. You're not losing a business. You don't want to force yourself to be someone and finally something will backfire on you because you can't satisfy them just because this is not your photography. This is not who you are. And then you force yourself to become someone and it might actually make the situation worse. So the thing is, you do your thing, you be yourself and you shoot your style. And this is what you need to do and promote yourself and talk to the clients. Yeah,
so true. I think when you're looking for a business, you're turning people away as much as you are saying yes, because these confrontations happen if you can't meet people's expectations. So I'm very picky on the couples that I work with when I do weddings, and it's a great thing because you get brilliant couples. They are really happy with the results, and you can charge more as well because it's a smaller niche. Win-win-win.
Yes.
Awesome. And speaking of business, Robin Wong has a great idea here. Print a T-shirt, follow the laughter.
I'm stealing that. Brilliant.
You got some merch you can sell now. If I don't do it first. Wow, that's terrific. Wow, you guys are amazing. And I wanted to ask Marlene, because I don't know you quite as well. And the what I've seen on your channel has been amazing for teaching people how to use their cameras. And I think you're the person I like. I watched this one I guess your newest one about pigeons. I never gave pigeons.
I love pigeons.
They're due. Now when I go out, I'm going to be looking for some pigeons. Trust me on that one. And that's one of the things. But shooting Micro Four Thirds all this time, I was wondering if you had sort of any approach to because in that video you said you're just shooting JPEG, and because you didn't need the RAWs. But when you're shooting your RAW images, what's your approach to post processing, if you have any, when you're editing your photos? because I imagine, being an educator, you probably have a very methodical approach to your editing as well.
Okay, I used to be a raw evangelist. Like I started teaching when cameras were 6 megapixels, and you had to shoot raw because the processors in camera were not that good, and you needed the extra dynamic range and things like that. And what's my approach to editing raw? I don't. Like, I honestly, like 99% of the time, unless I'm getting paid, I'll shoot raw plus JPEG. But you need to know that I trust that camera. I get it right in the camera. That's my approach to editing, is do it in the camera.
Absolutely.
And like I hate being on the computer. Like, so even editing my YouTube videos, I'm like, oh, this is taking too long. And people are like, shoot in 4K. I'm like, are you kidding? I don't want to shoot 4K. Like that would triple my editing time because I have a slow computer, and I want the joy. I don't want the not joy parts. And editing raw photos, I used to do it all the time. I had a really good method. And then when I started shooting Lumix Micro Four Thirds, the person who mentored me said, shoot JPEGs because you're shooting video. And then you won't have to deal with color matching. And, like, because we were doing hybrid back in 2012, 2013. And so we do presentations with little clips and photos together, and making, like, say, a portrait of a 90-year-old or something. So you do this moving portrait. And that way you could slap them together with auto editing software, and you have this beautiful little video result. You don't have to deal with raw files and trying to, oh no, and now I don't match my video, because I'm not a cinematographer, and I'm not a video editor per se. Like, I do what I need to do. So how do I edit raw? I don't. And for demonstration purposes, yes, I'll edit raw files, but and I shoot things that I don't need raw files for. I shoot birds at 20 frames a second. If I was shooting raw files from the G9 Mark II, and this is in my new video that's coming out tomorrow, by the way, little plug. If I shoot 20 frames a second, some of those raw files are 40 megabytes. So, like, talk about buffering. No way, man. Like, JPEGs is bad enough to buffer when a bird's flying and you're shooting 100 pictures. Yeah, so raw files, too much management, too much. Yeah, I know I'm probably going totally against the grain here, but how do I edit? You know what? If I can get it right in the camera, I go to Lightroom, auto. Oh, that looks pretty good. Next, auto. That looks pretty. I mean, okay, like, I'm simplifying things, and if a photo needs work, it's garbage. If I have to fix a photo, it's garbage. Like, I am not going to waste my time. I'll go out again next time and do it better. Like, oh man, I really screwed those up. That whole photo shoot was garbage. Next time I got to do it better. And I have the luxury right now of just doing this for the joy. And if it doesn't give me joy, and raw file editing does not give me joy, then I'm not going to do it. And okay, in any commercial jobs, yes, I'm shooting raw plus JPEG. I still do a little product photography for people. I did some roller skate company a while ago. And yeah, I shot raw plus JPEG, but you know what? On examination for their website, when they needed 500 pixels or 1,000 pixels wide, I don't need to spend the time shooting. I mean, I can shoot a white background in camera. I don't need to spend all this time fixing. And that's my goal, to get it right in the camera. So yeah, raw editing, sorry.
And that is really, really important. That it goes back to really anytime you're doing a creative process or making something, and this is an old word I use from my computer days, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
And if you capture garbage, editing is not going to save you.
No.
So a lot of professional photographers, I've heard this, where early in the digital age, actually, kind of opposite of you in this case, they shot JPEG in camera. Even early digital cameras, professional cameras, didn't shoot raw. So it's very important to get it right in camera, because it didn't have the latitude of film during that transition. And that's something that's kind of got lost, I think, with all of the software that's available to us now that can do these amazing things, ultimately, I think editing should be secondary. Primarily, you should be doing everything you can in camera and get it right.
Yeah.
Then post-processing is there to polish it, basically. So I think that's really important. And, Emilie, I think Emilie Talpin, you do a lot of macro photography, and I know our cameras can do focus stacking internally, but for post-processing and editing, do you have any special approach to that for the macro photography, or is it kind of the same as anything else?
I have the Marlene's approach. If my camera can focus stack 15 images and give me a great JPEG, this is what I'm going to use. So all the photos that are water drop refraction, they're all JPEG. I do really, really basic editing. My camera does a great job for me. So I see zero problems. Now, insects, if I want like maybe more detail, if I have something that's going to be really stable, then yes, maybe I'll just venture into doing more and then use what's the software? No, it just came out of my mind. Luminar Neo. That's what I use.
Yes.
I think it's really simple. I really like it. So that's what I do. But very often I just use focus stacking in camera, and I have the JPEG, and that's it. I have all the raw images if I need to, but why? My camera is already doing a great job. So that's kind of how I approach things. Then if I only have one shot, then I'll shoot raw, because that's just, but maybe I should change. Maybe I should just shoot just JPEG and be able to send it straight away, upload it on Instagram straight away. Yeah, why not?
Yes. Well, ironically, the very high-end sports photographers, they have these, what is it, network jacks in their cameras.
Yep.
Yes.
And they just send the JPEGs up instantly, raw processing is just not even, possible because of the delivery. They have to be fast.
It has to be in a second. You want your photo to be on the front page right now, and so that's what you have to do. But I mean, for macro, nobody cares about the photo, of my ladybug being on the front page of anything. So that is not going to be a problem. But I do like editing, so that's why I think I'm shooting raw as well, because it's kind of fun to. You obviously can do more with your images. But again, if you have a really bad raw image, well, there's so much that you can do. Exactly, just too bad. Go back out in the field and do better. So I think thinking that, anyhow, get everything right in camera as much as you can, and then use Lightroom or whatever editing software you have to make your photo better or to help you with your creativity, then that's great. But getting everything in camera is important.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm with you. I when I started my channel, I tried to show straight out of camera JPEGs all the time. I wanted to show people the baseline. This is where I started from, and this is the final edit. To show that, it's not about the editing side, about what you can do in camera first. With respect to exposure, did you get the exposure you want, whether it's low key, high key, or perfect, right in the middle? You have to make these creative choices before you go into editing. Don't think you're going to take a picture of something and then go and edit it to make it what you want. You have to get it what you want first.
Exactly.
And that's what I try to preach, but I think, raw files are made to be edited. And certainly you can get carried away if you add in Photoshop and layering and doing all kinds of things. And that's more like graphic design than it is, but I enjoy the filters that Luminar has, filters that are built into the cameras, just having fun with those.
And being able to stack all your images. I think that's my goal. I don't want to burden my images. Everything that I do is small touches to make my images pop, but not to light up the whole Instagram because it's so bright. Oh my God.
Yeah. A little bit of crop and know what the final delivery, like where it's going to be. Maybe you do have to edit for the final what's the where it's going to be. Is it going to be for print? Is it for Instagram? You may have to do some slight tweaks to editing that way, but again, the core is get it right. Get what you want in camera first.
And also there is one thing with, so we talk about Lightroom, we talk about Luminar, but there are also apps, like free apps that are great, that you can edit on your phone, on your iPad, and can do very well. So the one I use,
the woods, I do use Topaz denoise because I just find it just cleans it up a bit. But having said that, like this group here, we pixel peep beyond what most people do. Like we zoom in 200% and we're like, oh my gosh, there's noise. And I got to clean that up. But most people, they don't notice. And also when you go to print, I print a lot of my stuff just to see if it holds up. Like, oh, this is really bad. It's, whatever, 10,000 ISO, how is it going to look? And you can't really tell. Like, at proper viewing distance, nobody is going to know. So yeah, I think we overemphasize a lot of that because we pixel peep, and we need to get over that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that all the time, and
we all are.
And I preach it too. So anyhow, because I'm a gearhead, right? Sometimes it's not about the photography. It's about.
We've just got a few people in the comments saying they've lost the feed. And we've got quite a bit of buffering. I've got it up on a screen next to me, and it is a little bit. Can anybody else see it okay?
Let me see mine. My stream seems to be fine. Looking at it now.
Oh, good. It's smoothing out. Sorry to interrupt you, Rob. I just thought we had some technical difficulties.
No, you're right. Okay, so
as you were.
And because you can easily overlook these little things there when you get to an amazing location. The first thing you want to do is just snap, just go nuts about the location, right? But then you forgot about a lot of things, as a landscape photographer. Okay, an amazing place. What should I do first? You look for the light, look for the angle, look for the composition, look for everything. And I mean, when I first got into travel photography back in the early days, and I did the same, because when you travel to a new place you haven't been, you would just like, ooh, that's so cool. I'm so excited. I took like about 100 photos just on one spot. Yes, imagine the wastage I was doing. And I guess it's the same thing can go to any profession, any sort of genre of photography. You go to shoot bear, for instance. You go to like, there's bear in front of you. Oh, let's take a shot. Instantly, you got like especially these days, you're thinking, oh, wildlife. You have to turn into high-speed shooting burst mode. You click it for 2 seconds, you got 300 shots there of the same thing, and then you just got overexcited, and you're killing it. And then you just you need to kind of step back, like. Really assist in situations there, like starting to go back a little bit. Okay, what I'm here for, am I really trying to take a bear shot, and then okay, what did I learn about photographing bears, like things that I've prepared, things that I've done. I looked up on all the amazing photos from other people. What's the inspirations there? What can I do to make this a great photograph, not just burst shooting like 5,000 photos in 2 seconds, like it's not helping. And I think that's a very good thing. You said that, Emilie.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons I like to shoot film sometimes is it does slow you down, right? And you're more careful about each shot because you're financially invested now. Unlike digital camera, that's why old people take so many pictures because they can't believe it's free, But with film, it's like, man, this has cost me $1 a shot. Like, I'm a lot more careful. But okay, I know the stream is kind of buffering, so I want to maybe wrap it up here and see if anyone in the chat section has any questions for our guests before we go, I'm sure if they have time to stick around, they'll be happy to answer them. It's you guys have been awesome though, and I've learned so much as I do every year from all of you, and I hope our viewers have enjoyed your stay here. And I look forward to having you back again next year and talking about how great our photography is and the things that we're all doing and what our viewers are doing. Because Emilie, I think what you're doing with the photo submitting and what you're reviewing, I guess, and having a contest, is that what it is, or?
Yeah, so it's a monthly contest. It's free to enter, and
Mhm.
there's prizes every month. The winner for January got an Olympus EM5.
Wait, I
And
gotta enter this.
yeah, it's free. Microphoneheads.com. It's great. The prizes for February is actually the licenses of Luminar Neo and also some TT Artisans lenses.
Wow.
Yeah. So then I get the top 10 gets a photo critique. So maybe I'll open the photographs in Lightroom and sort of show them how I maybe would have done it differently and just say, amazing job,
Yeah.
everyone. And then the top 3 get prizes. It's been really fun so far. It's going for the entire year.
That's awesome. Wow. And I think this interaction with the community, it's not a small thing. It's a lot of work. So I applaud you for taking that on. I know Peter Forsgaard is doing something with 52-week projects and things, and it's wow, I wouldn't be able to keep up with all of that myself. So thank you for doing that for the community. It's pretty awesome. And I want to, like I said, if anyone had any questions, now's the time to ask. But I think you guys have done such an amazing job. We've answered everyone's questions, it seems. So let me just leave with this. Any last parting words? We'll start with Jimmy.
Oh, parting words already.
Oh, well, wait. I'm sorry. I know it's been 2 hours, but actually, I do have a couple of questions I forgot to ask you. And I'll give you 30 seconds to respond.
Ooh, okay, that's a challenge.
Okay. So what's the largest print you ever made with a Micro Four Thirds camera, and what was for what purpose, Jimmy?
50 by 30.
Wow. And what was that for?
Wedding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man. How about you, Emilie? Micro Four Nerds?
Also for a wedding, I'm not sure the exact dimensions, but it was sort of a big gallery print sort of across someone's wall in the living room of like a group photo, and it blew up brilliantly, and you can see all the little details. It's great.
Okay. Emilie?
24 by 32 Northern Garnet, but I do those type of frames. Okay, Jimmy, close your eyes. It's the spider.
Oh, no.
Nice. For me, that's like the perfect size for enthusiasts and things. Did you print that yourself at home, or did you do that?
No. That's a floating frame, so I use a company to do that. Yeah.
How about you, Thomas? What's the biggest print you've done with Micro Four Thirds, and for what purpose?
Well, it's actually 2 meters by 1.5 meters, and it was actually a crazy story. Quick thing. I'm gonna stick with the 30 seconds. It's actually a crop of a Micro Four Thirds crop sensor. So it was a Lumix LX100 back then, and I printed that for an exhibition. It is a self-portrait I took back in art school of myself, and you can actually find it when you Google the Photo Vienna Festival a few years ago, because it was on the poster. But actually, it was the biggest print was on the wall for the exhibition, and I was actually quite surprised that I was able to pull this one off because it's a heavy crop. But there are a few tricks, and then
Yeah, because LX100 is a crop of a Micro Four Thirds sensor, and then you cropped on top of that.
Yeah. It's crazy. I was really surprised, but it worked out fine, and it made it on the folder. So
Hey, awesome. How about you, Marlene?
About 50 inches wide by about 24 inches high. And it was from the Lumix GH3. I was on a cycling trip in France. And I edited it in Snapseed on my iPad during my holiday. Got home and printed it on canvas in a beautiful frame. And it's above my bed. And it's gorgeous. Yeah. I print a lot of things big. I love canvas prints. The lab that I have in Alberta here, they do a beautiful job of framing them. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I print a lot of stuff.
That's great. Yeah, I think printing is really, at least for an enthusiast or anyone getting into photography, printing gives you a whole different perspective on your photography, and it becomes more real, more tangible to you and somehow. And I recommend it. And that's why I asked this question, because I would love to see people, get a photo printer and start printing your images, or take them to your local shop that can do it, whether it's the pharmacy or whatever. Definitely printing is very important. And the next question is I think I know this, but Jimmy, what was your very first Micro Four Thirds camera, and why did you buy it?
It was the EM5, EM5 original Mark 1. Yes,
Okay,
and
why did you pick one up? Because you're shooting Leica, for God's sake.
it was the look.
Wow, okay.
It was the look of the camera. I mean, I couldn't help it. I was in Hong Kong at the time, and had my Leica, and I was doing some streets there in Hong Kong, and I came out from the MTR station, which is the underground station, the subway station, in Central, and I came up the stairs, and this big, massive, giant billboard was right in front of me when I exited the station, and it was the EM5. It was just right there in front of me, just like in my face. I was like, "Oh my god, that looks gorgeous, that thing!" And that afternoon, I went to a camera store trying to look for that camera. It was just announced, so they didn't have it. And so I keep asking the camera store, when are you going to have it in stock? And then because I was only there for about 2 weeks, and I said, "Oh, we're going to have it like next Monday." I said, "Really? Can you reserve me one?" I just got to have that camera. This looks so cool. And that was it, But the thing is, like I said earlier, I already tempted with the Micro Four Thirds as a format. Like I said, I saw the G1, the original G1. I was tempted because it's small.
Yes.
Then subsequently, I saw the Olympus EP1, the very first pen camera, and I also liked that look of it. And but it wasn't until the EM5 I really just, dig up my wallet and took the money out and just buy it. Just because it was just cool. It's just so cool, especially the silver. I got a silver and black, so that wasn't the whole black one. And I think that was the a kind of funny thing that it was all because of the billboard. That poster in front of me that just shot so nice.
Wow, you're a sucker. No, I'm kidding.
We all are, unfortunately, when it comes to cameras.
If you didn't buy that camera and see that poster, we probably wouldn't even know each other right now. Who knows?
Probably not. Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Emily? What was your first Micro Four Thirds camera?
My first camera was an Olympus Pen F, very quickly followed by a Lumix G7.
Wow, I didn't know that was your first.
Absolute gateway drug, and then now I've got like 38 of them.
So you bought the Olympus Pen F, started the Micro Four Nerds channel, and then ditched the Pen F.
Yeah, I did. I did. It's the biggest regret of my photography journey.
That is something. I had no idea. I thought you were going to say G1 or something, because you've always been the Panasonic person for me, and to know that you started the entire YouTube channel because of a Pen F, and I think that's what we have in common. My very first video was with a Pen F. You go to episode number 1. I'm showing how to set up the Pen F. That's something.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Emilie? Emilie Talpin.
Yeah. First, did you see that Robin said that Olympus in Hong Kong used to be on the 43rd floor of the building? This is pretty good. I love that. I think it was on purpose, but my first camera was the OMD M1 Mark II. I loved it because of the ergonomic. It just felt like it felt like a Cinderella moment. No kidding. I just grabbed it. I knew it was going to be my camera, and the features, the live comp, the focus stacking, all those features were really something that attracted me to the camera as well. So, and that was at the NECC conference. It's a big conference in New England that we have. And I was able to just hang out with the camera and borrow it for 24 hours. And that really, really convinced me to buy it.
Wow. So and like all the features you talked about, I think it's very easy to fall in love with Micro Four Thirds.
Very.
Yeah. How about you, Thomas? I think you did mention earlier what it was, but tell us why what it is again and why you bought it.
So, well, that's a bit embarrassing, probably. So it was also the EM5 Mark I, and I also bought it. Well, yeah, I definitely also bought it because I just like the looks of it, and I needed a digital camera back then. So really, it was probably and it was also on sale. So I was like, yeah, gonna get this one, you know.
Yes.
So yeah,
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
it's
Yeah,
a cool camera.
I'm a
Still.
sucker for a deal. Trust me, if the Fuji X-T10 was on sale, I'd probably be a Fuji guy right now.
Ooh.
But they had a Fuji and an EM10 next to each other, and I just like the looks of the EM10 a little better, even though they were about the same price at the time. But yeah, if it was on sale, little things, right?
Yeah, it's
Little
true.
differences.
It's true.
Yeah.
And this is how we're all connected. That's kind of like why I'm asking this question, because were it not for that very first camera, we may not be here together today. So tell us, Marlene, what was your very first Micro Four Thirds camera, and why did you buy it?
As I mentioned earlier, it was the GH3, the Lumix GH3, and I bought it because it shot video better than my Canon full frame. But it was followed shortly after by the GM1, and I found an orange one. So Emily, if you ever want an orange one, make me an offer. Anyway, and yeah, so it was because it shot video better than what I was currently using. And actually, I just fell in love with the size, the weight, and like I mentioned, I went on a cycling trip with it right away and was able to carry it with me all day on the bike. And yeah, it was handy, fast. I loved it. Loved it right away. Felt great in the hand.
So your reasons were more pragmatic, I think, than the rest of us.
Well, I thought the Fujis. I thought the Fujis at the time were really cool looking. Yeah. And if it wasn't for the video, I might have gone Fuji, and then I'd never have met all you. But no, I'm definitely a Lumix. I'm a Lumix lover. I admit it. You know, I do love it.
Yeah, it's certainly. I remember when I got my GX85, my first Lumix camera. I found the menus very intuitive and just easy to dive into and do everything I need to do and everything that camera can do. It was very seamless. It was very easy, and all of the special features we talked about earlier are also integrated and seamless and well done. But ultimately, my lens collection was mostly Olympus, so I was kind of missing some features. You know, whatever. I'm a fanboy for Olympus and OM systems, but I do love Panasonic lenses. I'm starting to get an affinity for them, but. And this is the reason, just going back to why I asked the question, because for all of us here in the stream together and for all of our viewers, we wouldn't be here and have this interaction with each other and with our viewers were it not for that very first camera. So I was just curious, you know, what camera you got and why you got it. And it's very interesting, a lot of different reasons.
But a lot of the reasons were about the aesthetics, which tells me that we need pretty, cheap, affordable cameras, which is what we've been saying all along. You know, I got the Pen F because it was gorgeous.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And that's why I'm here.
Totally. I mean, you can see like you know, this pretty looking cameras really drive sales, and whether you're into photography or not, some people, you know, you can say whatever you want. People may use it as a fashion accessory, carrying around the neck, you know. And like Thomas and I, you know, like we bought the EM5 because of the look, and you know, even we were using other cameras. So like, and until we use the camera, then we start to realize, oh yeah, it's actually a pretty cool thing, and it actually helps. I think. So yeah, I agree. I think either whoever, you know, like OM System or Panasonic, you know, make some cool, gorgeous looking cameras, and I'm pretty sure they're going to go through the roof, you know, and that's going to be cool.
I bought the GM1 because it was orange. Like, honest to God, if it wasn't orange, like there was a blue one, there was a cyan colored one and an orange one. I'm like, well, I'm getting orange. Like, that's why I bought it. Like, but I still love it. It's a fun little camera, and I can wear it at a party, put it around my neck, have a drink and a snack. Like, you know.
Right.
Absolutely.
Or you can just paint your camera like Emily did.
I'm too scared.
I don't blame you. It's not a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, let me go ahead and just wrap this up for everyone, and thank you for being here. But so, do you have any last words for our audience? Start with Jimmy.
Okay, just by saying everybody should continue photography, shoot better, and just have fun. I think that's the main thing. I know we always talk about the differences between OM System and Panasonic, two obviously the biggest micro four third makers, and but at the end of the day, we are photographers, we are creators. I don't think we should be bashing each other out, and we just want to enjoy creating images and videos. Both brands are creating amazing cameras. I mean, there are some differences, but I don't think you can say that each one is better than the other. We complement each other in many ways, and we have slightly different selections of lenses in focal lengths as well. It's not directly overlapping either, so it's just it's never a better time to be in micro four thirds, because like Marlene was saying, we have absolute huge collection of lenses within the micro four thirds world, between the two brands, and now with other Chinese lenses as well, TT Artisan, 7 Artisan. We are talking, literally hundreds of lenses to choose from. It's not short of selections there on choices, and then we have all the amazing cameras out there now. We can go far back as 10 years ago. You still can find something really cool, like the original EM5 is still a great camera. If you manage back one today for 100 quid, it's really good camera. You can shoot that thing to, on a really low budget, and slap some old vintage lenses on. Has some vintage photography, walk about in the city. It's cool. It's really fun. So I mean, I think we have a really great community here, a very close knit community, and I think we should treasure what we have, and not trying to cannibalizing each other's, and the only way to make this format work, to make this format go forward, is to unite and just be happy about each other.
Yes, thank you. Yes. How about you, Micro Four Nerds, Emily?
Join my photo contest, because it's loads of fun, and it's literally like, I just want everyone to get better and learn together, and it's a really nice little community that I'm building. But buy cheap cameras and go out and use them, and less spec, more photography.
Absolutely, and win free stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Miss Talpin?
I love that, win free stuff. Yes. I'm going to join this competition. That sounds really fun.
Why you get into Micro Four Thirds is maybe it's because you won a Micro Four Thirds in Emily's contest, and then 5 years from now, you could be a guest on this stream, right? Or 1 year, who knows?
We should do that. We should do a contest, and the winner can come in and join us next year.
Yes.
Absolutely, awesome idea. We'll let Emily pick.
So, I have 3 things. Number one, I want to thank you, Rob, for organizing this again, and for all the things that you do for the channel, and also Jimmy, Emily, Marlene, and Thomas. It's been amazing. I've learned so much from you guys, so I really want to thank you for everything. And then for the viewers, thank you so much for supporting all of us. And I want to tell you to believe in yourself and invest in yourself, because we talk a lot about gear, but you also have to invest in yourself. So put the time out there and enjoy, get outside and photograph. And if you're a macro photographer and wildlife photographer, don't follow the laugh. We need to follow the screams. Be quiet and follow the screaming animals. You'll get a better story than anything else.
That would be a less good t-shirt.
Yeah, that'll be a good mark for your channel. Follow the screams.
With a bird, like an eagle.
Awesome. How about you, Thomas? Any last words for our audience here?
Definitely. Well, first, thanks a lot. Really, for me, this was very special. I would have never thought of being on a stream and here on YouTube with you guys. So, thank you very much. That's really special, and I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Well, and it is very special, if you watch someone's video and if you learn from someone, and then you are sitting with exactly these guys you watch in the same room and have a chat, and same room probably not, but that's very special, and I appreciate that, because that's, for me personally, the sense of community, and the positivity that is here right now. That that is actually what photography is about, and what this should be about. And well, yeah, that's very special.
Awesome.
And yes, and also one thing that I personally that helped me a lot, and I want to share that, is take yourself serious as a photographer. Take yourself serious as an artist. When I watch online discussions, the label professional is sometimes assigned to mean meaningful photography, to mean photography that matters. But to be honest, my professional work is often a means to an end. I love it, and the clients hopefully love it as well, and so on. That's good. But this is a completely different thing. But when I do a personal project, an art project, work for an exhibition whatsoever, or even shoot a family gathering, then this is special, because that's what photography also about. It is about this memory, this personal perspective, and the value of that is at least equal to professional work. So don't think about this label professional as being something special. It is, in terms of photography, it is not. It is about being an artist and expressing yourself and showing the world your perspective. And that really helped me personally a lot in my life, to be honest. So
Yes.
Thanks for that.
That's an awesome advice. Take yourself seriously. Have confidence in yourself. That's awesome. Thank you. And thank you for being here. And I really appreciate you wear a suit and tie. That's awesome. I try to at least wear a collared shirt when I get on, but anyhow. Marlene, any last words for our viewers?
To the viewers, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching, commenting, buying me coffees, giving me tips, super thanks and all that. And on those hard days when you just want to quit, you keep me going. So yeah, I just love the interaction I have with the photography community. And it was just awesome getting to know all of you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here with us today. It's great getting to know you. And I encourage everyone to check out Marlene's channel for, she's just, like I said, just like she's sitting next to you and showing you how to use a camera. It's really a very different experience than I've had with, when I was learning photography. So definitely check that out. Thanks for being here. And I want to thank everyone again for being here. You guys have been awesome, as you are every year. And it's great to have Thomas and Marlene here as new guests. And I hope to have it all back again next year so that we can share, all the great things we've been doing together and what we've done with our audience. And this, I love this interaction you guys are all having with your audience and your viewers. I think it's that feeling of community is also very important, and one of the greatest strengths of the Micro Four Thirds format is not just the gear, but it's also the community that we enjoy. So that's all I have for today, you guys, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We will
Thank
see
you.
you again next year, if not sooner. And to my audience, thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate all of your support, and look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Happy
Bye,
shooting.
thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you.